So I've reviewed a couple of 1986 films over the past month, but they don't come any bigger than today's topic, for we're taken to the skies to look at Top Gun. This was a monster hit, becoming the highest grossing picture of that year, as well as one of the highest grossing of the entire 80s period, as it accumulated over $350 million. And the most mind-blowing part of it all is that this is only from a budget of $15 million, which, given the fact that this is a Tom Cruise movie and what it entails, which we'll definitely get into by the way, that is nuts. So anyway, this is now 40 years old, and to this day remains a cinematic, cultural phenomenon. But iconic quotes and imagery is one thing. Does it actually hold up at all on an objective level? We get given a cast of characters that are very memorable, even if some are on the verge of being cartoons. And up at the front is Tom Cruise as Pete Mitchell, aka Maverick, who was cast at the perfect age for this role. He's young, hot-headed, arrogant and full of beans, being the son of another established pilot, and knowing that full well, tries to break out of his shadow. He's a cheeky lad and quite cocky, clearly very skilled, but he needs to get a grip of himself and learn the value of teamwork, plan his moves better. To paraphrase Stinger, his ego's cashing checks that his body can't cash, which proves to be exactly the case down the line with a certain traumatic event. It rattles and screws him up mentally, putting him into a hole which he has to crawl back out of. He develops and becomes a man, and through this entire process, from start to finish, he is entertaining and never boring. Cruise had already been kicking around for a number of years by this point, being in Taps, Risky Business, Legend and so forth, but this elevated him from a star to a superstar, and rightfully so, with an obviously not perfect and sometimes over the top, yet still consistently engaging performance. He was tailor-made for this character, and basically repeated that feat for like half his career. There's Kerry McGillis, fresh off of Witness with Harrison Ford. She was top notch there. And there's Charlie, she's more or less solid. I mean, the romance with Maverick isn't that great really, but I guess it's okay enough. Awfully choreographed sex scene aside, they badly needed Michael Douglas in there. I consider it secondary to the plot, so that's why it doesn't bug me much. It doesn't leave much impression anyway. It's not McGillis' fault to be clear, it's just not the deepest, most complex of parts. Not worth getting attached anyway because it doesn't carry over into the sequel, with poor McGillis suffering the unfair wrath of Hollywood, getting binned in favour of Jennifer Connelly. But that's another story. Anthony Edwards, with actual hair in his head, plays Goose. Hands down the most lovable character of the bunch. I mean, how can you hate that smile? How can you hate that laugh? How can you hate his goofy jokes? He is a total teddy bear and a delight of a man, the coolest hang. So, as a law of cliche stories like this, he is doomed to die. In all seriousness though, well predictable, it is gutting to see him get killed, and in that fashion too, because he was so electric on screen, which is down to Edwards' lively acting, and in turn, it leads to Cruise's best acting as he becomes emotionally shaken by the events, showcasing his human, sensitive side. May as well now talk about Meg Ryan as Goose's wife Carol. This was pre-Harry Met Sally, and in just a mere few short scenes, she delivers, firstly being so bubbly and displaying pure devoted love for Goose, then later the heartbreak after his death. In the brief screen time she has, she radiated as somebody with potential, and, well, you know the rest. Oh, and there's Goose's son, Bradley too, not played by Miles Teller by the way, but retroactively surreal to watch him, knowing his big part to come in the sequel. The late great Val Kilmer is Iceman, who's smug and self-righteous, not here to muck around, here to get the job done, frowning upon Maverick and questioning his talent and manhood at every possible opportunity. It's all one-dimensional on paper, but Val just fits the part and somehow makes it better. He has the right expressive face for what is required of him, and I can say the same for Rick Rosevich as his wingman Slider, but typically, in the end, they put their differences aside and earn each other's respect. Tom Skerritt as Viper means serious business. He talks, you listen closely, no exceptions. Michael Ironside as Jester, yes my man, always excited to see him in anything. An infinitely cool presence, even if he doesn't ultimately have much to do here past the essentials. And James Tolkien as Stinger, who you'll immediately recognise as Principal Strickland from Back to the Future. And of course here, he's an internally grumpy grouch, giving the young guns a paddling. He and Paul Gleason basically played the same no-nonsense, humourless, easily irritated stick in the mud in every role during the 80s. But gotta give him credit, they did him so damn well, and this here is just another example of that. Tim Robbins also shows up in a career early appearance as Merlin. Just figured I'd throw that out there. The all-around best quality of the flick has to be the flying scenes, which are simply incredible, among the best ever done in cinema up to that point, and still even holding up now. The pilots going above and beyond with insane turns and dives and other mad dangerous stunts that both leave you in awe and have you on the edge in the context of the story. They're shot effectively by cinematographer Jeffrey Kimball, and all of it is further augmented by their superb sound design. And Being helmed by Tony Scott in the director's seat and the producing team of Simpson and Bruckheimer, it makes too much sense that this is chock full of testosterone-juicing, brisk pace, all killer no filler action that quenches those inner male urges, getting us to cheer for our boys as they go up against the ambiguous enemy from a vague, undisclosed country, wherever the hell they're from. Actually, that was a smart idea. It means that they don't piss anyone off and it doesn't age badly in the long term. Win-win. The score by Harold Faltermeyer is elite. At its apex, it is just super exciting and gets you buzzing. The Top Gun anthem itself is so tasty, especially when the guitar riff hits full gear. Oh hell yeah. But he also produces some good, subdued pieces when things get heavier. The soundtrack is legendary, one of the best selling ever, and for good reason. It's heaving with smashing songs from wire to wire. The 80s king of rock, Kenny Loggins, gives us not one, but two of them. Firstly, the famous Danger Zone, which is the very definition of a banger, and helps make the opening one of the greatest ever, setting the adrenaline thrusters to max. And secondly, is Playing with the Boys, to accompany the most wonderfully homoerotic sequence of the decade. Although, to be fair, it does get me in the mood for some volleyball on the beach. Maybe minus the baby oil and the unnecessarily tight jean shorts. Pete and the boys serenading Charlie with You've Lost That Loving Feeling. Yes, it's publicly cringe-inducing, but it's well sung. The iconic love theme Take My Breath Away by Berlin, a top tier karaoke hit. Great Balls of Fire slaps, Cheap Trick's Mighty Wings goes hard, and the list goes on with Lead Me On, Hot Summer Nights, Destination Unknown, Heaven in Your Eyes, etc. With not a single weak, skippable link between them. It cannot be understated what such a huge impact Top Gun made. Just to give you an example, for those unaware, because of this film's popularity, the Navy got a flood of people through trying to sign up and join, essentially turning this into a propaganda product for the American military. Oh dear. But beyond that, it gave us a crappy NES game where you couldn't even land a plane, inspired the golden parody Hot Shots, and of course, as mentioned several times, the 2022 blockbuster sequel, Top Gun Maverick, which became a sensation in its own right and brought people back to the cinemas post-pandemic. I have a ton to say about that, but I'll keep it for another day. Short and to the point, I'll say it is awesome and superior in virtually every way. Now that's not to demean the original. Yeah, for all the flaws and the cheesiness and everything else to take the mickey out of, it's still on the whole massively fun and very rewatchable. It's one of those films I can stick on any day of the week. How can I best describe the feeling? Well, simply put, it gives me the need. The need for speed! I'm Jason, and this is Small Movie World, watching, talking and loving films.